"You're stunning," Ethan breathes, his fingers tracing along her collarbone. Mia blushes and looks away. "Thank you," she murmurs. Ethan leans down and kisses her again, his hands moving to her breasts. He cups them gently, teasing her nipples with his thumbs. Mia moans into his mouth, arching her back. Ethan breaks the kiss and starts to trail kisses down her neck. Mia tilts her head back, giving him better access. He takes advantage, sucking and nibbling on her sensitive skin. As Ethan kisses her neck, his hands move to her waist, pushing up her skirt. Mia helps him, lifting her hips so he can remove the skirt completely. Now she's lying beneath him in just her panties, and she's never felt more alive. Ethan sits back on his heels and looks down at her. His eyes are dark with desire, and Mia can see the outline of his arousal straining against his jeans. "You're perfect," he breathes, running his hands up and down her legs. Mia feels a surge of confidence at his words. She sits up and reaches for the hem of Ethan's shirt. He helps her, pulling it off and revealing his chiseled abs and strong chest. Mia runs her hands over his skin, feeling the muscles ripple beneath her touch. She leans forward and places a soft kiss on his chest, right over his heart. Ethan groans and pulls her close, capturing her lips in a passionate kiss. As they kiss, Mia's hands move to the waistband of Ethan's jeans. She unbuttons them and starts to pull down the zipper, but Ethan stops her. He breaks the kiss and looks at her, his eyes serious. "Mia, I want you to know that this doesn't change anything. This is just about tonight, okay?" Mia nods, trying to hide her disappointment. She knows he's just trying to protect her, but a part of her had hoped this meant something more. "Okay," she says softly. "I understand." Ethan searches her face for a moment, then nods. He helps her remove his jeans and boxer briefs, and Mia gasps when she sees his erection for the first time. He's big, bigger than she expected, and she feels a surge of anticipation. Ethan lies down next to her and pulls her close. They kiss deeply, their hands exploring each other's bodies. Mia can feel Ethan's arousal against her stomach, and she reaches down to stroke him. Ethan groans into her mouth and rolls her onto her back. He settles between her legs and starts to kiss down her body. Mia gasps as his mouth reaches her breasts, sucking and nibbling on her nipples. As Ethan continues to lavish attention on her breasts, his hand moves down between her legs. He gently strokes her through her panties, and Mia moans, arching her hips. "You're so wet," Ethan growls against her breast. "Is that all for me?" Mia nods frantically, unable to form words. Ethan slips his hand inside her panties and starts to stroke her clit. Mia cries out, gripping his shoulders tightly. Ethan continues to tease her clit as he sucks on her nipples. Mia writhes beneath him, overwhelmed by the sensations. She's never felt anything like this before. As Ethan brings her closer and closer to the edge, he slips one finger inside her. Mia gasps at the intrusion, but it feels so good. Ethan adds another finger, pumping them in and out of her as he continues to stroke her clit. Mia can feel her orgasm building, and she grips Ethan's shoulders tightly. "Ethan!" she cries out. "I'm so close!" Ethan looks up at her, his eyes dark with desire. "Let go," he growls. "Come for me." Mia does as he says, crying out his name as she reaches her peak. Ethan continues to pump his fingers inside her, prolonging her orgasm. When she finally comes down from her high, he removes his fingers and sits up. Mia looks up at him through half-lidded eyes. "Wow," she breathes. "That was amazing." Ethan smirks and leans down to kiss her. As they kiss, he pulls down her panties and throws them on the floor. Mia is now completely naked beneath him, and she's never felt sexier. Ethan reaches for his discarded jeans and grabs a condom from his wallet. Mia watches as he rolls it on, anticipation building in her stomach. When he's ready, Ethan settles between her legs once again. He looks at her, his eyes full of lust. "Are you ready?" he asks softly. Mia nods eagerly, unable to speak. Ethan smiles and leans down to capture her lips in a soft kiss. As they kiss, he positions himself at her entrance. He starts to push inside her slowly, and Mia gasps at the feeling. When he's finally fully sheathed inside her, Ethan breaks the kiss and looks down at her. "You okay?" he asks, his voice strained. Mia nods, adjusting to the feeling of him inside her. "Yes," she whispers. "You feel amazing." Ethan groans and starts to move, pumping in and out of her slowly. Mia wraps her legs around his waist, pulling him closer. As they find their rhythm, Ethan reaches between them and starts to stroke Mia's clit. She cries out, arching her back. Ethan continues to pump inside her, his strokes becoming faster and harder. Mia can feel another orgasm building, and she clings to Ethan tightly. "Ethan," she moans, "I'm close again." Ethan growls and captures her lips in a passionate kiss. He continues to pump inside her furiously, and soon, Mia is crying out his name again as she reaches her peak. Ethan continues to move inside her, prolonging her pleasure. When she finally comes down, he sits up and looks down at her. "You're so beautiful," he growls, before leaning down and kissing her deeply. As they kiss, Ethan continues to move inside her. Mia wraps her arms around his neck, pulling him closer. She's never felt such a deep connection with anyone before. After a few more minutes, Ethan starts to lose control. He pumps into her faster and harder, and Mia meets him thrust for thrust. "I'm close," he growls against her lips. "Fuck, Mia, you feel so good," Mia moans and clings to him tightly. A few seconds later, Ethan cries out her name and reaches his own orgasm. Mia feels him pulsing inside her, and it sends her over the edge again. They both collapse in a heap, exhausted and covered in sweat. Ethan rolls off Mia and pulls her close, and they lie there for a few minutes, catching their breath. As the reality of what they've done starts to sink in, Mia feels a sense of uncertainty. She knows this was just a one-time thing, but she can't help but hope what it could lead to. Chapter 10. Mia woke to emptiness. The sheets were cold where Ethan should have been. The faint trace of his cologne lingered in the air, clean, sharp, the kind that made your chest ache with sudden longing. She blinked at the ceiling, heart still thrumming from the memory of last night. A memory that now felt almost cruelly bright against the gray light of morning. A note on the dresser caught her eye, folded neatly, written in a precise, almost surgical script. "Had to leave early. Don't wait up." Short, cold, businesslike. Mia's chest tightened. Her hand hovered over the paper, reluctant to touch it. The warmth of yesterday, the laughter, the soft brush of skin against skin, the quiet intimacy, all of it collapsed into a hollow echo. She folded the note, set it aside. Maybe she didn't need words. Maybe she didn't need him. Then her phone buzzed. Once, twice, then a torrent, notifications flooding the screen in angry red. Mia frowned and opened the first alert. Her stomach plummeted. Side-by-side images stared back at her. On the left, her in last night's gown, emerald silk flowing over curves she hadn't dared notice before. Poised, elegant, dangerous in a way she had only ever imagined. On the right, her in a diner uniform, apron crooked, tired eyes peering from under a messy bun, coffee pot in hand. The captions were merciless, from waitress to Mrs. Blackwood, Cinderella or scam, Ethan Blackwood's charity project, gold digger or glamour queen. Comments scrolled endlessly. Pity, envy, malice, disbelief. Every word stung. Each sentence a slap to the face she hadn't expected. Mia sank into the bed, phone clattering to her side. She felt hollow, yet furious, a strange cocktail of humiliation and indignation. And somewhere underneath it all, a flicker of pride that no one could erase who she really was. The door burst open before she could even think to breathe. Carla stood there, pajama shorts, a half-melted clay mask, and a tub of ice cream held like a declaration of war. "Ethan called me," she said, eyes sweeping over Mia, worry sharp beneath the humor. "He said you might need someone." "Whoever wrote that headline deserves to stub their toe for eternity," she declared, dramatically waving a spoon. Mia let out a strangled laugh, because what else could she do? Carla dropped onto the couch beside her, eyes wide and gleaming. "I'd bet my left boob it's Sienna," she declared. "That angel-faced snake has her fingerprints all over this." Mia bit her lip. "It's everywhere." Carla's teasing grin faltered as she really looked at Mia. The distant stare, the tight way she held the ice cream spoon, the tremor in her breath. Her expression softened, concern edging past the humor. "Okay," she said quietly, leaning in. "Something's off. This isn't just about trolls, is it?" Mia hesitated, throat tight. Then, barely above a whisper, "I slept with Ethan." For a moment, the world froze. Carla choked on a laugh, then shrieked, "You what? Oh my God, finally! Wait, don't tell me it was bad." "Was it bad?" Mia's cheeks burned, hot against the cool morning air. "No, it was perfect. But when I woke up, he was gone. There was just a note on the dresser. Had to leave early, don't wait up. No goodbye, nothing." Carla exhaled, slow and heavy. "Oh, honey, that man. Emotionally constipated doesn't even begin to cover it. You could light a fire under him, and he'd still act like it's raining inside a church." Mia just stared at her, the room quiet except for the hum of the AC and the distant tick of the clock. Later that day, the knock at the door was crisp, formal, and unnervingly calm. Carson, in his usual rigid suit, posture so straight he looked like he'd been carved from marble. "Mrs. Blackwood," he said, expression neutral, tone clipped. "Mr. Blackwood requests your presence at the annual Blackwood Foundation Gala this evening. Attendance is expected." The words sat heavy in her chest. Not an invitation, a decree. Attendance was a duty now, another performance in a life that suddenly felt borrowed. She caught her reflection in the hall mirror. Messy hair, puffy eyes, a sweater that suddenly felt laughably inadequate. She exhaled slowly, straightened her shoulders. "Fine," she muttered. "Then I'll show up." As Mrs. Blackwood, Carla appeared before she could even step into her thoughts, waving an arm at the disaster of her closet. "No, absolutely not. You are not walking into that room looking like heartbreak in jeans and a hoodie. You are walking in looking like revenge wrapped in satin and diamonds." And so the chaos began. Curlers and straighteners, brushes flying, lipstick smudges, discarded gowns. By the end, Mia barely recognized herself. Emerald satin, richer than ever, clinging and flowing at once. Diamond earrings caught the light with each breath she took. She looked dangerous, unreachable. Carla's eyes softened. "You look like a woman who finally remembered who she is." Mia blinked at her reflection, unsure whether to smile or shiver. Both, perhaps. The gala was a storm. Crystal chandeliers, glittering gowns, murmurs that could slice glass. Mia stepped in, chest high, heels clicking on the marble floor. Heads turned, whispers followed, and for once, she didn't care. Across the room, Ethan stopped mid-conversation, his mouth opened, closed, opened again. He blinked at her. He had no words. His brother nudged him, smirking. "You're staring." "Shut up," Ethan muttered, but his gaze never wavered. The doors slammed open before anyone could react, and there she was, Sienna. Every inch of her screamed control. Immaculate hair, a dress that seemed sculpted to her body, perfume sharp enough to make heads turn, and then her eyes landed on Mia. The room seemed to shiver. "Well, well," Sienna said, her voice honeyed poison, slow and deliberate. "If it isn't the little intruder, parading in like she owns the place. How bold of you." Mia's fingers tightened around her glass. She set it down carefully, deliberately, and met Sienna's glare head on. Sienna's glare was the kind that could slice through glass. "Well, isn't this poetic?" she purred, circling Mia like a vulture. "You walk in here in your borrowed gown, thinking one night in his house makes you special." Her eyes glittered, venomous. "I've been beside him for years. Through everything, the deals, the losses, the nights he wouldn't talk to anyone but me. I'm the one who knows him, what he likes, how he works, What breaks him? You just showed up and played house. The room went still, the music fading into a tense hum. Mia didn't move. Her pulse thundered, but her voice came out soft, steady, and lethal. Then maybe you should have realized being beside him isn't the same as being with him, she said. Every word a scalpel. You had years, Sienna. And all he gave you was friendship. I've been here a fraction of the time, and I already have what you've been chasing. Sienna's jaw clenched. You think he loves you? He doesn't. He's using you. The whole city sees it. The charity case turned Cinderella. You're nothing but his latest PR project. Mia's lips curved in a faint, dangerous smile. Funny, for a PR project. He seems awfully protective. That was when Sienna snapped. With a sharp hiss, she grabbed her champagne flute and flung it toward Mia. Gasps filled the air, but before it hit, Ethan was there. He stepped in front of her, the drink splattering harmlessly against his back. When he turned, his face was all ice and control. Enough! His voice was low, but it silenced the room. Sienna, I've never loved you. You were a friend, nothing more. Don't mistake history for intimacy. Sienna's breath hitched, the color draining from her face as whispers rippled through the crowd. Mia stood tall beside him, chin lifted. You heard him, she said softly, her words carrying farther than any shout could. Now, if you'll excuse us, we have a gala to enjoy. Sienna froze, her perfect smile fracturing. Cameras flashed, catching every second, her fury, Mia's calm, Ethan's quiet protection. Ethan's hand brushed Mia's waist, grounding her. Are you okay? He murmured. She looked up at him, a faint victorious smile tugging at her lips. Better than okay, she said. I'm exactly where I belong. And as the ballroom erupted in whispers and light, everyone watching knew it too. She wasn't just part of the story. She was the story. The gala ended in a blaze of glittering lights and whispered speculation. Cameras had clicked, flashes stung, but Mia hadn't faltered once. Not when Sienna's sharp words had tried to cut her down. Not when the press circled like vultures. Not when the world seemed ready to judge her. Ethan had been there, steady, controlled, protective. Every glance he gave, every subtle touch, reminded her she wasn't just surviving this night, she was owning it. By the time the valet opened the car doors, Mia's legs felt like jelly, but her chest was alight with something stronger. Hope. Hope that maybe this night had shifted something between her and Ethan. Hope that his hand at her waist, the way he'd deflected Sienna's assault, wasn't just an instinct. Maybe it was more. He led her to the car, the city lights reflecting off the wet streets. Painting the night in streaks of gold and silver, she sank into the seat beside him, letting herself breathe after hours of tension, of judgment, of triumph. The drive was quiet, almost too quiet, but in that silence, Mia's mind replayed every moment. The way she'd stood her ground, the fire in Sienna's eyes, the way Ethan's hand had pressed protectively against her back, his whispered words when the press had pressed in. Every detail made her chest swell, made her pulse quicken. When they arrived at her building, the magic of the night hung between them. Ethan parked and killed the engine, turning to look at her with those sharp, unreadable eyes. Here, he said quietly, voice low, measured. You're safe. Mia's lips quirked in a small, private smile. Thanks, she whispered. The word felt inadequate for everything the night had been, for the storm she'd survived, for the subtle, simmering pull she felt toward him. He opened the door for her. She stepped out, heels clicking against the wet pavement. They were about to go their separate ways, him back to his world, her to hers, when Ethan leaned just a little closer. His words faltered, roughened by the night, by everything unsaid. Before she could even process it, his lips were on hers, soft at first, testing, then certain. The kiss burned through her defenses, melted the careful restraint she'd built all evening. She couldn't resist him. She didn't want to. Her hands found his chest, clutching, holding him close as the world around them blurred into insignificance. The city, the cameras, the whispers, they didn't exist. Only him. Only the fire he sparked inside her. When they finally pulled apart, breathless, her forehead rested against his. His hand lingered on her cheek, thumb brushing softly across her skin. "I really like you," he murmured, voice rough but tender. "But—" Mia smiled against him, bold and daring. "I don't care about butts tonight." He chuckled, a low, dangerous sound, his lips brushing hers. Ethan carries Mia into the house and up the stairs, his lips never leaving hers. When they reach her room, he pushes the door. The moment the door closes behind them, Ethan drops Mia and pushes her against the door, his body pressing into hers. He kisses her deeply, his hands roaming her body. Mia wraps her arms around him, pulling him closer, needing to feel every inch of him. Ethan's hands move to her thighs, and he lifts her up easily. Mia wraps her legs around him, her arms around his neck. He carries her to the bed. When they reach the bed, Ethan lays her down gently. He hovers over her, looking into her eyes. "I want to taste you," he says softly, his thumb brushing her lower lip. Mia nods eagerly. "Yes," she breathes. Ethan smiles and kisses her again. This time it's softer, sweeter. His hands move to her blouse, undoing the buttons one by one. When it's open, he pushes it off her shoulders, his eyes roaming her body. "You're beautiful," he whispers, trailing kisses down her neck. Mia arches into him, wanting more. His hands move to her back, unclasping her bra. When it's gone, he looks down at her, taking in every inch. "Perfect," he murmurs, before leaning down and sucking a nipple into his mouth. Mia cries out, gripping his hair tightly. He continues to lavish attention on her breast, his hand moving to caress the other one. Mia writhes beneath his touch, overwhelmed by the sensations. As Ethan continues to tease her nipples, his hand moves to her waist. He pushes up her gown, his fingers trailing along her panties. Mia gasps, wanting more. Ethan looks up at her and smiles. "I've been dreaming of how you'd taste since the first day we met," he growls, before moving down her body. Mia grips the sheets tightly, anticipating his next move. When Ethan's mouth finally reaches her core, she cries out, arching her hips. He groans against her, the vibrations sending shock waves through her body. He starts slow, licking and sucking gently. Mia moans, urging him on. He obliges, increasing the pressure. When he adds a finger, pumping it in and out slowly, Mia almost comes undone. "Ethan," she pants, gripping his hair. "Please." Ethan hums against her, sending vibrations through her core. He adds another finger and curls them, hitting that spot inside her that makes her see stars. Mia cries out his name, her orgasm building quickly. Just when she thinks she can't take any more, Ethan wraps his lips around her clit and sucks. Mia screams his name, her body convulsing as she comes undone. Ethan continues to lick and suck, prolonging her pleasure until she's begging him to stop. When she finally comes down from her orgasm, Ethan moves up her body, pressing a soft kiss to her lips. Mia tastes herself on him, and it only makes her want him more. She pushes him onto his back and straddles him. Ethan looks up at her with a smirk, his hands resting on her thighs. Mia leans down and kisses him deeply, her hands moving to his belt. As she unbuckles it, Ethan breaks the kiss to watch her. "Mia," he groans, when she finally frees him from his underwear. Mia smiles and positions him at her entrance. She slowly lowers herself onto him, gasping at the fullness. When she's finally fully seated, she looks down at him, biting her lip. Ethan grips her hips tightly, guiding her movements. Mia starts to move, slowly at first, then faster. She leans forward, changing the angle, and Ethan groans, gripping the sheets. As she rides him, Mia feels another orgasm building. She increases her pace, chasing her pleasure. Ethan meets her thrust for thrust, his eyes never leaving hers. When Mia reaches her peak, she cries out his name, collapsing on his chest. Ethan wraps his arms around her, rolling them over. He starts to pump into her furiously, chasing his own release. A few seconds later, he reaches his orgasm, calling out her name. He collapses on top of her, exhausted, and Mia wraps her arms around him tightly. They lie there for a few minutes before Ethan finally rolls off her. He pulls her into his arms and kisses her softly. "That was amazing," he whispers. Chapter 11. The morning light poured in through the blinds, soft and uninvited. Mia stirred first, a faint smile playing on her lips, the kind that comes from waking up next to someone you don't want to stop looking at. But when she turned, the space beside her was empty. Sheets rumpled, pillows still warm. No Ethan. Her smile faded. Then she heard it, the faint clink of a belt buckle, the rustle of fabric. He was by the door, half-dressed, slipping into his suit jacket like the night before hadn't happened at all. "Ethan?" Her voice was small, still heavy with sleep. He froze, didn't turn around. "Where are you going?" He hesitated, hand tightening on his cufflink. "I have meetings. Early start." "That's it?" She sat up, the sheets pooling around her. "After everything last night?" "Mia." He exhaled, rubbing a hand across his face. "It shouldn't have happened." Her heart dropped. "Shouldn't have? You can't be serious." He turned finally, eyes guarded, expression unreadable. "We had an arrangement. Let's not pretend it's something else." Her voice cracked. "Arrangement? That's all you think this is?" His silence was worse than an answer. She slipped out of bed, bare feet brushing the cold floor, anger rising with every step. "Don't do that. Don't hide behind contracts and logic. I know you. I feel you. The way you look at me, the way you protect me, the way you—" She swallowed. "Touch me. You can't fake that." "Mia, stop." "No, I won't. You treat me like I'm fragile one moment and disposable the next. Just tell me the truth. Why are you fighting this? Why are you fighting me?" For a moment, he said nothing. Then quietly, too quietly, "You want to know why I can't do this? Fine." He turned away, hands braced against the edge of the dresser, shoulders rigid. "I grew up in a house that looked perfect from the outside. Crystal chandeliers, charity galas, magazine smiles. But behind closed doors, it was hell. My parents were poisoned together. Every I love you was just another way to wound. My father used affection as leverage. My mother weaponized tears. I used to lie awake, listening to them tear each other apart, promising myself I'd never end up like that." His voice dropped, softer, raw. "So yeah, maybe I don't believe in love, Mia, because I've only ever seen it destroy." She blinked, tears threatening to spill. "You're not your parents, Ethan. You don't know that. I do. Because love doesn't destroy. Fear does. And you're so afraid of feeling that you'd rather be alone than risk being happy." He met her eyes then, something fractured in his expression. "And what if you wake up one day and realize you hate me too? That this, all of this, was a mistake?" "Then at least we'd know," she said, voice trembling. "At least we'd have tried." He didn't respond, just stared at her for one long, hollow moment, then grabbed his jacket and walked out. The click of the door echoed like a final word. Mia stood there for a long time, heart breaking in the quiet he left behind. Then she moved, slow, deliberate, pulling clothes from drawers, shoving them into her suitcase. By the time the afternoon sun hit the balcony, she was gone. Carla's door flew open after the third knock. "Mia!" Mia barely managed a nod before the tears came. Carla didn't ask, just opened her arms, catching her as she fell apart. "Oh, sweetheart," she whispered, guiding her inside. "He's an idiot. A tall, handsome idiot." Mia laughed through her tears, broken and small. "I can't do this anymore, Car. I can't stay where I'm not wanted." "Then you're staying here," Carla said firmly. End of discussion. Later that evening, Ethan came home to silence. Her scent lingered faintly in the air, a cruel ghost. The bed was made, her suitcase gone, and on the counter, a single note in her handwriting. I can't keep loving someone who's afraid to love me back. M. Something inside him snapped. He searched the house, calling her name like she might still be there. Then he tried her phone. Once, twice, 10 times. Straight to voicemail. By the time Carson walked in, Ethan was pacing like a man unraveling. She's gone, he said, voice barely holding. Find her. Hours later, he found himself at a bar, nursing a drink that burned more than it comforted. His brother Adrian slid onto the stool beside him. You look like hell, Adrian said. She left. I figured. You love her. Ethan's laugh was hollow. That's the problem. I think I do. No, Adrian said. You don't think. You do. You've been happier since she came into your life than you've ever been. Don't let the ghosts of our parents ruin what you finally found. Ethan looked at him, silent. Then, without another word, tossed cash on the counter and left. By the time he reached Carla's door, it was nearly midnight. She opened it halfway, unimpressed. You've got a lot of nerve showing up here. Please, he said quietly, just a minute. Something in his voice softened her glare. Fine. But if you hurt her again, you'll need an ambulance, not an apology. He stepped inside. Mia was by the window, wrapped in Carla's sweater, staring out at the night. When she turned, her eyes were red, but steady. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Ethan took a slow breath, his voice barely above a whisper. When I came back home this morning and found out you'd left, something ripped within me. He swallowed hard. I've spent years running from feelings, pushing people away before they could leave me first. It's what I learned growing up. But the second I walked into that empty house, I realized I'd done the one thing I swore I'd never do. I'd become my father, cold, cowardly, watching someone I love walk away because I was too afraid to fight for them. Her breath hitched, but she said nothing. You have to understand, Mia, I've never let myself need anyone. Not truly. But when I saw your suitcase gone, when I realized you weren't coming back, I felt it, this sharp, hollow ache, like my chest couldn't hold itself together anymore. And I knew, right then, that I never wanted to feel that way again. He stepped closer. Mia, I love you, and it scares the hell out of me. But my feelings are real, every single one. And I never want to be parted from you again. Not for a night, not for a fight, not for anything. She blinked, tears spilling freely now. You really mean that? With everything I am. She took one small step forward, then another. Then don't ever run again. He smiled, relief breaking through the ache. Never again. And when he kissed her, it wasn't about desire or desperation. It was peace. Home. Epilogue. The soft hum of hospital monitors had become almost comforting now. Steady, rhythmic, alive. Mia sat by the window, sunlight spilling through thin curtains, her fingers laced with her mother's. The woman who once seemed swallowed by illness now looked radiant, fragile still, but present. Her hair was growing back in soft curls, and when she smiled, it reached her eyes again. You're glowing, her mother teased, her voice lighter than it had been in months. Mia laughed, brushing a loose strand behind her ear. Maybe it's the coffee. Maybe it's love. Mia's cheeks warmed. Her mother always saw through her. It had been 6 months since that night, the night Ethan showed up at Carla's door, drenched in regret and honesty. The night he told her he couldn't breathe without her, that losing her felt like losing a piece of himself. And this time, he hadn't just said it. He had proven it. He was different now, softer, more open. The walls he had built around himself were still there, but she had learned how to climb them, and sometimes he let her in willingly. The door creaked open. Knock, knock. Ethan stood there, flowers in one hand, takeout in the other. His suit jacket was gone, sleeves rolled to his elbows, that familiar mix of chaos and charm written across his face. Mrs. Hartwell smiled knowingly. You again. Me again, he grinned, crossing the room to kiss Mia's forehead. Your favorite visitor. I'll be the judge of that, her mother teased, and they all laughed. Ethan set the food on the table and squeezed Mia's hand under the blanket. She's doing amazing, he whispered. She really is, Mia said, her eyes glistening. Later that evening, when her mother drifted to sleep, Mia and Ethan stepped outside. The hospital garden was quiet, the air cool, filled with the scent of jasmine. Ethan wrapped his arm around her shoulders. You know, he said softly, I used to think happiness was temporary, something that fades once the music stops. And now, she asked. He turned to her, brushing a thumb across her cheek. Now I know, it's you. You're the music I never want to stop. Mia smiled, her heart swelling. That's dangerously close to poetry, Mr. Blackwood. Then I guess I'm doomed. She leaned into him, closing her eyes as his lips met hers. Gentle, sure, infinite. For the first time in a long time, everything felt right. Her mother was healing, Ethan was hers, and she, the girl who had once been broken, was finally whole.